Walk into any of the hundreds of once thundering restaurants lining Dubai Marina right now and you will hear something that would have been unthinkable 3 years ago. Silence. Tables dressed in white linen. Chairs pulled perfectly into position. Candles that never get lit. Menus that never get opened. Staff members standing near doorways. Hands folded. Eyes drifting to the street waiting for a customer who never arrives. This is not one restaurant. This is not one neighborhood. This is happening across the entire city. From the glittering towers of downtown Dubai to the supposedly untouchable luxury corridors of Palm Jumeirah. Dubai, the city that sold itself to the world as the ultimate proof that human ambition could outrun geography, logic, and economic gravity, is showing cracks that its government-controlled media has been desperately trying to paper over. And those cracks are not small. They run deep, straight through the foundations of an economic model that was always more spectacle than substance, always more borrowed time than sustainable growth. This is the story of how one of the most aggressively marketed cities in human history arrived at a moment where its restaurants are empty, its retail floors are ghost towns, its real estate developers are defaulting in silence, and a growing wave of residents and tourists are quietly walking away. This is not speculation. This is not pessimism. The numbers are telling a story that the Dubai Tourism Authority does not want you to hear. Let us start with the restaurants because they are the most visible and the most brutal indicator of what is actually happening on the ground. As of early 2025, independent hospitality industry surveys conducted across Dubai's main tourist and residential zones revealed that average restaurant occupancy rates had fallen to between 18 and 27% during what should be peak dining hours. That is not a slow night. That is a structural collapse of foot traffic. Restaurants in the Dubai Mall, once considered one of the highest footfall retail environments on the planet, are reporting that the lunch rush that used to generate queues out the door has essentially evaporated. Owners who signed 5- and 10-year leases at astronomical rental rates, some paying upward of 800,000 to 1.2 million UAE dirhams per year for mid-sized units, are now staring at monthly losses that are eating through their entire capital reserves. And here is the critical detail that almost no mainstream outlet is covering properly. The restaurant crisis in Dubai is not a singular event. It is a symptom. It is the surface expression of something far more dangerous happening beneath the surface, a simultaneous collapse of multiple economic pillars that Dubai built its identity upon: tourism, expatriate spending, real estate investment, and the illusion of permanent compounding growth. To understand how Dubai got here, you have to understand what Dubai actually is. Because despite the gold-plated branding, despite the Burj Khalifa and the indoor ski slopes and the hotels shaped like sailing ships, Dubai was never, and this is critical, Dubai was never an economy. It was always an event, a permanent, extravagant, artificially sustained event funded initially by oil revenues from Abu Dhabi, then by a relentless, almost evangelical campaign to attract foreign capital, foreign workers, and foreign tourists to generate the economic activity that would justify the city's own existence. When Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum pivoted Dubai away from oil dependence in the 1990s and early 2000s, the strategy was bold and, for a period, genuinely brilliant. Build the tallest. Build the most luxurious. Build the most extreme. Make the world curious. Make the world come. And for 2 decades, the world did come. Tourists arrived in the tens of millions. Expatriates flooded in, attracted by zero income tax, by the promise of Western-style luxury at inflated salaries, and by the sense that Dubai was a city where ambition was rewarded. Real estate developers from London, Mumbai, Beijing, and Moscow poured billions into off-plan apartments and hotel developments. Between 2010 and 2019, Dubai's tourism sector grew at a pace that astonished economists. By 2019, Dubai welcomed approximately 16.73 million overnight visitors, making it one of the top 5 most visited cities on Earth. The economy looked unstoppable. Then came 2020, and the pandemic hit. Dubai did what it always does. It doubled down. It reopened aggressively while the rest of the world was still locked down. It hosted Expo 2020, which eventually ran from October 2021 through March 2022, drawing approximately 24 million visits. And for a moment, the engine roared back to life. Dubai declared itself a winner. It told the world that its model had been validated. But something quietly went wrong in the recovery. And the nature of what went wrong is exactly why the restaurant tables are empty today. Here is the economic mechanism that most commentators are missing. The post-pandemic boom in Dubai was not organic. It was not the return of genuine, diversified, sustainable tourism demand. It was almost entirely driven by three extremely specific and extremely fragile sources. First, Russian money. Second, crypto and speculative capital. Third, a one-time wave of digital nomads and remote workers who briefly believed that low taxes, sunshine, and made Dubai a practical long-term base. Let us take each of these apart. When Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, and the West responded with sweeping sanctions, Dubai became the city of choice for Russian capital flight. Wealthy Russians who could no longer safely hold assets in Europe or access Western financial systems moved with extraordinary speed. They bought apartments. They parked money in luxury goods. They dined in high-end restaurants. They booked hotel suites for months at a time. Dubai's real estate market recorded Russian buyers as the top foreign purchasers of property in multiple quarterly reports throughout 2022 and into 2023. The restaurant industry, the yacht charter industry, and the luxury retail industry all got a sugar rush from this influx. And like every sugar rush in history, what followed was a crash. By mid-2024, the wave of Russian capital had stabilized and, in many sectors, begun to reverse. Russian buyers facing their own economic constraints due to a war economy, falling ruble valuations, and a domestic banking system under severe pressure began either holding steady or quietly unwinding Dubai positions. The restaurants and luxury venues that had come to depend on this clientele suddenly found the high-spending tables going dark. Then there was the crypto wave. Between 2021 and early 2022, Dubai aggressively positioned itself as a global crypto hub. The Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority was established. Celebrity crypto figures and blockchain startups descended on the city. The wealth effect of the crypto bull market, when Bitcoin was touching $69,000 in November 2021, made a class of people feel extraordinarily wealthy, and many of them spent that wealth in Dubai. The hospitality sector, the luxury real estate sector, and the high-end dining sector all absorbed a significant portion of that crypto liquidity. FTX collapsed in November 2022. Bitcoin fell 77% from its peak. The crypto nomads who had been renting penthouses and running up monthly restaurant tabs in the tens of thousands of dirhams quietly disappeared. They did not announce their departure. They simply stopped coming. And then there was the remote worker mirage. The Dubai Digital Visa and various remote work permit initiatives attracted a wave of mostly Western and South Asian tech professionals who decided to base themselves in Dubai. They filled co-working spaces. They rented serviced apartments. They ate in the restaurants and drank in the rooftop bars. But this was never a stable demographic. Most of them were transient by nature. They had come for the tax advantages and the novelty. And when the cost of living in Dubai, particularly housing costs, which increased by 20 to 40% in many areas between 2022 and 2024, made the city far less economically attractive than they. The remote worker wave turned out to be another temporary current, not a structural pillar. Strip away the Russian money, the crypto capital, and the digital nomad wave, and what you are left with is the underlying demand picture for Dubai. And that picture is considerably less spectacular than the tourism authorities' glossy reports suggest. Now let us talk about the numbers that Dubai's official narrative actively avoids. According to data compiled by STR Global, a hospitality analytics firm, Dubai's hotel revenue per available room, which is the industry's most precise measure of hotel financial health, peaked in 2022 and began declining in 2023, continuing that decline into 2024. Occupancy rates across Dubai's hotel stock, which has been expanding aggressively, have been unable to keep pace with supply growth. The city added thousands of new hotel rooms between 2022 and 2024. You cannot build 5-star hotels faster than you build the audience to fill them. And now you have a city with more high-end hotel beds than it has guests to sleep in them. The restaurant sector tells a similar story of oversupply meeting under demand. In the years following the pandemic, Dubai issued food and beverage business licenses at a rate that astonished industry veterans. Thousands of new restaurants, cafes, and dining concepts opened, many of them backed by developers who had included ground-floor F&B units in their residential and hotel towers and needed to fill them with tenants. The result is an oversaturated market where too many restaurants are competing for too few customers. And the economics of operating a quality restaurant in Dubai, with its sky-high rents, expensive imported food, mandatory service charges, and dependence on tourist seasons, have become genuinely impossible for a large portion of operators. Restaurant industry insiders in Dubai, speaking anonymously to hospitality trade publications in late 2024,